Well, hello there, and welcome to day 117 of A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. After all of the films I've been covering over the last couple of weeks, months you might say, between the classics and the big lead up to the Oscars and BAFTA nominees and of course the coverage videos, I think I've come to the decision that this week I'm going to rest on my laurels just a little bit. I am lining up some, classic, interesting films to really sink my teeth into, which will come up in the next couple of weeks. But this week, I think I'm going to take it a little easier. So what that means is that this week's films are probably going to be more veering towards new releases, more popcorny, or what would have been popcorny in normal times. Something just, whatever sort of Netflix or Amazon suggests to me, and I'll go, okay, I'll give this a go. So in the spirit of that, tonight's film was the new Netflix film Love and Monsters. So the only problem, I suppose, with doing something that's a new release, that you don't know what it's going to be, and that's going to be the running theme, I think, this week. I don't know what these films are going to be. There's, with the classics, of course, I already am either aware of them or have a sense of them. With these, it's entirely wildcard. I don't even know if they've reviewed well, or I've had inklings of what direction the reviews have gone, but not really had an in-depth knowledge of whether a film. I'm anticipating a film to be good, bad, unpredictable, predictable, etc. Love and Monsters. The nicest thing I can say about Love and Monsters is that it follows the formula, follows in the footsteps of a film that I do love and think is great, which is Zombieland. There is something about Love and Monsters that it lies somewhere between Zombieland and the other film that came to my mind was the 2010 romantic monster film Monsters by Gareth Edwards, that really told this romantic story about two lovers trying to find each other in a monster-infested area, only to learn that the monsters, the creatures that they encounter, are not the real monsters. But it's told with such subtlety and nuance that it really is a demonstration of how you can tell this kind of story that's not an adventure, but it's more a journey through the wilderness and yeah, as I say, it does lie somewhere between these two. And of course you've got Zombieland, which is just such a brilliant grassroots comedy film that is one of the crown jewels of the rom-com genre. Between that and Shaun of the Dead. So with such a good character chemistry and a great ensemble and just a fantastically written script that is both funny but also horrifying but also adventurous in equal measure. And so perhaps being compared to these two films is not the worst thing in the world, but unfortunately Love and Monsters does not have the humour, the character chemistry and the good writing of Zombieland, and it doesn't have the beauty and tragedy and pathos of Monsters. What it is, okay, so it follows Joel, played by Dylan O'Brien, who, after the world comes to an end because of monsters ravaging the surface, Joel is part of an underground bunker underground bunker community. However, he's kind of the runt of the group. He's alone in a bunker of couples. He has a long lost love who he's managed to communicate with over the radio, and then he's also a bit of a coward. Or at least he freezes. He can't cope with confronting the monsters. But impromptu, he decides to leave the bunker alone and go and find his long lost love, and of course, adventures ensue. And so, and like I say, the problem is it wants to be as funny as Zombieland. It opens, like Zombieland, it opens with this fantastic prologue that really was the reason I decided to watch this film, because it came up on my Netflix banner with this fantastic, almost hand-drawn, almost like a children's cartoon, hand-drawn kind of opening with Joel narrating as it describes how the monsters were created by the fallout of chemicals from rockets, and then we see the monsters attack and how society was changed, and it's done with a bit of wry humour, and it does have that same slight sardonism of Zombieland's prologue. But everything about it to me screams poor man Zombieland. I mean, the lead really gives me Columbus vibes, Jesse Eisenberg vibes. But whereas Jesse Eisenberg, there's something a bit extra about Jesse Eisenberg. Something just that extra bit witty, that extra bit interesting and strange that Jesse Eisenberg brings to those roles. This guy is just that little bit too generic, little bit too handsome, not quite funny enough, and the film decides to put him front and centre from beginning to end. And he does encounter a lot of different scenarios and characters, including very much like a cowboy-style older guy and a young girl, who, of course, immediately... the cowboy is played by Michael Rooker, although they're sort of, the rough and tough guy. And, of course, it immediately gives me vibes of Wichita and Little Rock from Zombieland, But I think Michael Rooker's fantastic. But the way that they get him to perform this feels like a slightly softer version of what Woody Harrelson did. And it's just without the teeth, without them quite enough of the meanness that really made that character work. And so you have that. But the problem with this film is it doesn't stick with them for a long periods of time, and then you have him encounter a dog, our lead. And then, of course, you've got the love interest, who we hear over the radio at the beginning, Amy, played by Jessica Hemwick, who I know as Colleen Wing from Iron Fist and Defenders, and people might know from Game of Thrones. And I think she's a fantastic actor, and I think the real shame about her is she feels like she is never given a property good enough for her talents. And this is very much that case. And again, there's something a little bit about Emma Stone about her. Maybe not quite, that's the only one that doesn't go quite as parallel, but again, it's there. But it's not that entirely. As I say, you only encounter these characters in piecemeal. And so it's mostly Joel you're following. And as I say, I'm sure Dylan O'Brien is a really good actor, but he's not quite strong enough to carry the entirety of this film, especially the long stretches where, for instance, it's just him talking to a dog or him thinking aloud. And honestly, it's almost torturous. And so that's the problem. It's not funny enough, and it's not interesting enough. The one thing I would say is the monster designs are pretty interesting. I mean, they are essentially enlarged versions of amphibians and insects and arthropods and all sorts in our world, but they do look interesting. The designs are cool, and I can see why people have sort of praised the production of it, because yeah, the creatures do look really interesting. And that's the one thing I would say is that, you know, the moments when you sort of see it and go, oh, that's kind of gross, but also quite interesting to see. And you have moments where you go, oh, okay, I'll give it credit for that. Unfortunately, it tends to be fairly formulaic with set piece, convenient resolution, set piece, convenient resolution, foreshadowing, obvious payoff, and it doesn't have any real nuance to the script or any real complexity. It is very basic in the kind of storytelling it's going for. I do feel like I've given this film a bit of a kicking. I don't think it's terrible. It's just, in my mind, it's very mediocre. It is. It's fun if you want that kind of action adventure with good-looking monsters and a handsome lead who you might find funny, but it's, for me, I was hoping it was just going to be that little bit more. So I can't say I'm not disappointed. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell for notifications when new videos come up. And there are over 100 videos and numerous playlists, so please do check some of those out. Follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Woodley, where I'm always tweeting movie news, movie-related content or TV-related content, trailers and funny videos, and of course links to videos when they go up on the channel. Thank you for joining me. Take care.